Okay, so we were in service about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they're playing this song, "Oh How He Loves Us." And in the middle of the song, I don't realize it, but my wife is wondering, I have this fire and brimstone view of God. From time to time I struggle with the whole, how do I know God's forgiven me? And so she's thinking about that. She's saying, why does Michael, why does he have this view of God? Why does he have this fire and brimstone view of God? And in the middle of her thinking about it, all of a sudden, God just speaks to her. And I need to say that this doesn't happen to us all the time, okay? So this is not just some matter of fact, and God speaks to my wife all the time. He speaks to her and he says, tell Michael to call Mike Ritter and to tell him that he's okay. And Mike Ritter is my biological father, who I haven't talked to since 1997. I've seen him about 5 times in my life. My mom divorced him when I was probably 1 or 2. He grew up in a really troubled household. His father abused him. He was beaten, you name it. Father was an alcoholic. He essentially grew up just like his father, and so was repeating the cycle. And he was doing the same thing with my mom. So that night I sit down and I try to write him a letter. And I write out a long letter, but I just realized I don't know the man. I don't know what to say. And so I decided I'm just going to call him. So the next morning I call his office, leave a message, don't hear from him. Finally, I managed to leave a message to somebody. He contacts me. And I don't know what to say. He says, Mike, and I say, Mike, you have a minute? And like I said, I know, for all I know, he could scream at me. And then he says, I have all the time in the world for you. And I said, okay. And then immediately he just starts talking and says, listen, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about you a lot lately. And then his voice starts to quiver and he says, I have a lot of regrets in my life, but I think the biggest regret that I have is not being a father to you. And then I cut him off and I said, listen, before you tell me anything more, I need to tell you why I called you. I know you don't know me and you have no idea. I could be crazy, but I'm just going to tell you like it is. Here it is. I have a message to you from God. He says, okay. So I said, here's the story. We were in church yesterday. They're singing this song, Oh How He Loves Us, in the middle of the chorus. God says this to my wife. Call Mike Ritter, tell him that he's okay. Tell Michael to call Mike Ritter and tell him that he's okay. And so he starts crying, and I said, I don't know if the message is I'm supposed to tell you that you're okay, or if I'm supposed to tell you that I'm okay, but apparently if it's me, it's okay. I can tell you that I'm okay. I'm fine. And furthermore, I want to tell you also that, I don't care what it is that you've done in your life. I don't care what you feel bad about or what you did or you didn't do. I forgive you unconditionally. I don't care what it is, and I don't have to hear what it is. You don't have to tell me. It's over. Just know that I unconditionally forgive you. And at this point he's crying and he's saying, well, can we just open the lines of communication? And I said, well, of course we can. You can come down here whenever you want to. You can see your grandchildren. He says, I got grandchildren? I said, yeah, you have 2 granddaughters. So he's just losing it at this point, and I don't really know what to say. And so finally he says, look, listen, I just need to get your number. I'll call you back tomorrow. And then that night, as I told you, everybody had gone to bed and I was just sitting at the table thinking about what happened. And it just kind of occurred to me, and I thought, what must it be like for him? I guess what would it be like, for years and years and years of what he did or didn't do, and then all of a sudden your son calls me up and says, I have a message for you from God, and tell you that you're okay, and then he just forgives you for everything. And I just was thinking, just randomly, he'll probably spend the rest of his life trying to make it up to me. He'll probably feel guilty. He'll probably feel bad. And then that's when it occurred to me. I realized that despite the fact that he may still feel bad or he might try to make it up to me, it'll never take away the fact that I forgave him. And then I realized that's how God forgives. It doesn't matter if you feel forgiven. It doesn't matter if you feel forgiven. And it doesn't matter if you spend the rest of your life trying to make it up to God. Nothing that you can do can make your forgiveness any more certain. And I didn't realize that until I had forgiven him. I forgave him. It doesn't matter how he feels. It doesn't matter if he feels bad. His forgiveness is absolute and it's certain the moment I spoke it. And the moment that God said to me, And to all of us, you're forgiven. It's just that simple. Forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a fact. And when you're told that you're forgiven, you're forgiven.